Right, so I'm delighted to be joined today by Ryan McCumber. Ryan is Program Director for the Hype Global Virtual Accelerator. So Ryan, it's great to have you with us today. Perhaps you can just tell us about the GVA, which is now GVA 2.0, and sort of how it came about, the objectives, etc.
Sure, thanks, Katie. So about 1 year ago, actually literally about 1 year ago, the Hype organization, specifically Amir, the CEO, reached out to me and said he wanted to help bring sports back. And we wanted to use a football alliance that I'm one of the co-founders of to focus on football and how can we help bring the world of sport back. This was literally in end of March 1 year ago. And fortunately or unfortunately, I guess the fortunate part is we did not just focus on football. It's really because one of the main clubs, Real Sociedad in Spain last year, was really getting hit much worse than the rest of the world was. Spain and Italy got hit hard first. And the initial reaction and the alliance I have kind of starts in Spain, goes out from there, and they just weren't in a position to say yes. And I went back to Amir and I said, no, why are we just focusing on football? The whole world, doesn't matter if we're playing tennis in Australia, soccer down in Argentina, or baseball in Canada, basketball in America. It's the one time ever, I think, in the history of the planet, every single sport is connected with the exact same problem. We don't have fans in the stands. We're losing sponsorship. We don't even have games at the time. So I told Amir, let's put football aside and let's focus on all sports. And thank you for having me on last year. We came on and we talked about what it was we were planning, and that was in the planning stages. We had 13 fantastic partners, one per sport. Teams like Leeds United in the UK. We had Paris Saint-Germain, Miami Dolphins, LAFC, Tennis Australia. And it was a really amazing group, but we didn't know what we were getting into. It was greenfield for us. And the premise behind it, as I told Amir, was if I'm going to get involved in this, I don't want to do an accelerator. Startups don't need an accelerator. The pandemic changed the world, and all these startups where everyone was locked inside. You're locked inside in quarantine, and you're probably racking your brain on how you can help make change and how your product can pivot. I promise you, every single startup out there was thinking, how can I apply my product to help these fans? And what the clubs needed, the clubs didn't have any money. Let's face it, they were all bootstrapped themselves. They were losing money, but they needed innovation and they needed ideas. And how can we marry those two together more in a Shark Tank-like competition? And let's get the clubs to listen and agree to implement something, a pilot, and let's get the startups to apply and almost run down through some sort of funnel process. We really created a Shark Tank-like competition that exceeded my expectations. Of the 13 partners, they had all committed to selecting one winning pilot. We ended up getting last year, by the time it was all done in August, and we had what we call demo day, we had 17 winning pilots. So 17 winning pilots signed contract agreements. 7 of those 17 were commercial agreements that had revenue tied to it. So some were rev shares. Some of the startups were being paid money to adjust the app or to customize the app, or just being paid a fee. And that was the beauty of it. And the results spoke for itself. To have 17 signed contracts come out of that, there's no accelerator out there. There's tons of accelerators that have partners, but none of them, and I've been part of the biggest ones in the world, they have partners that do a lot of talking, but there's never a signed agreement that comes out of it. And that was the fundamental difference. So we just, coming off the success from that, we then said, let's do GVA 2 and let's make it different. I'll kind of hit the pause button there and we can kind of go on, but what do you want to talk about GVA 2? You want me to go
back up?
Okay, so GVA 2, and the difference between GVA 2 is we said, look, that club and federations was so successful. Let's run a massive program the same way. Let's try to cover all sports. Let's put it in different verticals. So I would still lead 1 or 2 verticals, but have oversight across all of them. If you don't mind, I'm just going to share a screen here just to kind of level set. And basically, all the verticals, there are 7 of them. We merge clubs and federations with media broadcast. We have esports, sports betting, winter sports, performance and fitness, and motorsports. And then we have over 50 partners. So this is the beauty of this program. So within clubs and federations, last year we had 13 partners. This year we have, again, 1 partner per sport. I'm not going to read through all of them, but just to highlight on a few, we have the Bundesliga as a league. We have the Minnesota Vikings, 2 NBA teams with the Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks, a bunch of football teams from all over the world, including Uruguay, Brazil, team in La Liga. We have the Wolves in the English Premier League. We have 2 federations, both the German Federation and the French Federation. We have the PGA Tour. We have some rugby. We have cricket with the ICC. Then we also have our media broadcasters. So some big giant players such as DAZN. We have Rogers Sportsnet, Eurovision, VRT, which is a Belgium sports broadcaster, Star Sports, which is massive in India. Another big player in the US, I can't announce yet, but will be announced shortly, but it's one of the largest regional sports broadcasters. And then the other verticals. Now, I'm not going to go through all the brands, but in esports, big ones like ESL, Gen G. In motorsports, we have Volkswagen Racing, which a lot of people here in the US don't realize, but Volkswagen Racing is actually Porsche and Audi Racing. And it's their whole entire entity. So it's the tracks, it's the teams, it's the drivers. Winter sports, we just made a big announcement today of Swiss Timing to go along with a bunch of other smaller partners there. And then performance and fitness. Really excited about this one. We have Under Armour, we have Lululemon, and we have teams like Legia who are looking for high performance fitness, and FIBA looking at high performance. But your Under Armour is looking from innovation in clothing, innovation in digital, how to make the clothing smart, how to help for fitness. The fitness boom, as you would be aware, like skyrocketed during Corona time. The Pelotons in the world, all those home fitness has just been booming. And these brands want to take advantage of it and look for innovation. So we also have sports betting. I'm not going to go through all of it, but collectively there are 7 verticals, over 50 partners, and we're covering 30 sports in more than 30 countries.
Wow. And sort of on that subject, Ryan, so is it closed now? There's 32 clubs and brands already signed up, but, can other interested clubs and leagues and federations, can they still get on board? And the same goes for if there are startups that are interested, can they still join this GVA 2.0?
So the short answer is yes and yes. There are 3 days left to apply for a startup, and brands are still coming on board. We still have some big names to announce that we just haven't got across the line yet. We're working with their legal and our legal. You can see there's a little hole here for a new brand that's coming. I can't say who that is, but it will be announced shortly. For any new company, any new club, brand, federation, yes, there's time. I'd probably say the window is closing pretty quickly. We probably have about a week left. But yeah, the short answer is yes, but more importantly for startups that want to get involved, and I want to use the word startup lightly because I like to call it more sports tech companies. We had, even last time around, of the 25 companies that applied, 7 of them had already completed tier 1 accelerators with your Techstars, your Stadia Ventures, your Lead, and they came into this program looking to scale globally. And we also had 5 of them who had already completed their Series A. This time around, in the pipeline I'm looking at, we'll talk about that pipeline in a second, but we have at least 10 or 15 that are past their Series A. We just signed a publicly traded company, of all things. They're traded on the Canadian Stock Exchange and the German Stock Exchange, and they're joining this. The conversation I had with him was, he's like, I could go knock on doors for 3 months, or I can just join your program and get in front of 30 partners in one day. He's like, this is a no-brainer for me. So it's just that ability to scale is, for lack of a better word, insane. I mean, if you came into this and you won work at 20 of these partners, even 10 of these partners, if you came out with a signed contract, that is phenomenal. And you're talking unicorn status if you get 10 or 20 pretty quickly. Yeah.
So, and just on the point, I know obviously it's called the Global Virtual Accelerator. So is this an accelerator program, or does it differentiate in some way to the traditional accelerators?
That is a great question. And I actually like to call it Sharkulator, which is my own little pet name for it, because it's more Shark Tank than it is Accelerator. But think of an accelerator of, we're going to help you scale the world. So we are going to help you accelerate. But the real difference is this is not an accelerator such as your traditional one, where you have a lot of mandatory things to do within a 3-month time frame. In this program, there's nothing mandatory. But we do offer classes. There's mentorship. There is a lot more than just winning work with these partners, a lot of investor sessions, but all of it is designed as a kind of, think of a Chinese menu, so to say, a pick and choose where you want to dive into and dive out, because we're not targeting one type of startup or one type of sports tech company. We target all levels of maturity, from the very earliest stage where you have an idea on a PowerPoint, but you have no clients, you can apply, all the way down to that publicly traded company that has hundreds of employees around the world. They can apply as well. They need two different things. They both have a goal to win work with any of these partners. Anyone wants to sell business. You wouldn't be a company if you weren't trying to do that. But not all of them need the investor sessions, the mentorship, the classes. Those things are there, but it's more off to the side and more pick and choose what you want to get involved in, as opposed to really the startup competition, which at the heart of this, it's a large Shark Tank-like competition. Let me just walk you through the process of, so each one of these brands has been sharing with us their challenges. What are they trying to solve for? Stuff like, I want a contactless fan journey. I need to engage millennials. I need to have a new digital platform for AI content recognition to push out ads to my fans or highlights to my fans, whatever it may be. We've had over 1,500 applications. Just alone last week, we announced the Minnesota Vikings, the PGA Tour, and the Atlanta Hawks, and we had 300 applications in 3 days. So we actually had to push everything out a week so we could go through all those 300. But we've had now over 1,500 applications. I'm in the middle of doing about 70 interviews. And then we're going to get down to roughly 30 that are going to be invited to boot camp. And the way we designed boot camp is it's a 1-hour Zoom call with each of the partners. So it's myself, and it'll be Matt Johnson from the Minnesota Vikings. And we'll talk about, what are the Vikings? What is the scope of the Vikings? Do they own the US Bank Arena? Do they not? Do they have other teams? Do they have an esports team? They also have a sports tech fund, which a lot of people aren't aware of. Their owners are really big into sports tech. So we'll talk about that for 5 or 10 minutes to level set on, what is the Vikings? And then we'll talk about what are the Vikings looking for? These are the 5 or 10 things that they would love to solve for. And then we go around the room, and each one of these startups that's on the call has a chance to ask them a question and state who they are, within 1 minute. Hi, my name is so-and-so. My product is this. And I'd like to know if you have 5G in the stadium, as an example. And we go around the room. That's an 1.5-hour call. We do that times each partner. So there's a lot of value in just getting to meet all these partners. And then pitch day is going to be March 11th. And unlike normal pitch days, everyone's seen pitch competitions. This is a little bit different in that you still pitch normally, and there's a Q&A following it, but you're not being judged on your pitch. You are at the very highest level being judged on the pitch, but you also get to refresh all your information based on the same that you apply. When you apply to the program, let's say you applied back in December. Well, now you just spent 30 hours with these partners. You've learned a lot. You want to change your story. You get to upload all new information. You can upload tailored slides that speak to the different partners, because then these partners following pitch day, they don't make a decision. They don't act as a jury. This is not a democracy. This is a jury of one. Each individual club is going to make their own decisions, and we give them, now they're having 7 days. They have 1 week until March 18th to review all the material. So that's why I say it's not just a pitch competition. They'll listen to the pitch, of course, but you might not be the greatest pitcher. You're not being judged on how you present up on stage. You're being judged by all the material you submitted. And each one of these partners will sit down and go through that. So the French Football Federation will go through the 30 as well as pitch day, and they will pick out roughly 5. They may pick 6, it could be 7, that they want to move forward. And here's where it gets fun. It's really more of a survivor / bachelor model, in that imagine the French Football Federation has 5 roses to give out, and they're going to compliment all the 30 people they met or the 30 companies, but they only have 5 or 6, and they're going to announce, who's going to get that lucky rose to move on. And they will say, startup X, we love your product for this, this, and this. Come on down. And then they turn their Zoom camera on. We welcome them and they get selected. And each one of these is going to announce roughly 5. So over the course of that 3-hour selection show, the French Football Federation announces their 5. DAZN announces their 5. The Phillies announce their 5. You start to see patterns, and you start to see, last year we only had 13. We didn't have 32, but the most any one startup won was 8. And they actually won 8 in a row. And we were making a joke. You think they can run the table? They think they'll get picked by all 13. And you start to get, half the startups get selected by a good chunk. A smaller group of them get selected by 3 or 4. And then there's always a handful of them that gets selected by just 1. And one of the biggest highlights last year, a company called Flash Plays, at selection show, they were only picked by 1 of the 13. They were rather disappointed. Yeah, we got picked by just 1. But once you get picked by 1, you're now entering a roughly 8 to 12 week phase of business development. And that business development, basically it's a series of one-on-one meetings. And they just doubled down, and they actually nailed that. They sold a commercial agreement with the Miami Dolphins. It was the first agreement announced in the whole program. And it was a extremely successful project that lasted all season. It was a predictive gaming project with the Miami Dolphins. They just renewed for next season. Now making some, a nice little profit off of it. And it's a fantastic product. And now they're talking to multiple other NFL teams that came out of that. But basically, to reiterate, at the selection show, if you're picked by just 1 partner, you're in the program. If you're not picked by anybody, you're off the island, as I like to say. Pack your bags, go home. We wave goodbye to you on the screen. We ask you how your experience was, and they wave goodbye to us, and off they go. And last year, we had 25 companies at pitch day, and 17 moved on. I have no idea what it's going to be this year. It might be because we have 32 partners here. And this is, again, just one vertical. Each vertical is doing their own mini competition. So as a startup, you can sit in the fans vertical, you can sit in sports betting, and you can sit in, for example, esports. So you might win 5 in Fan Club and Fans. You might win 5 in esports. That's phenomenal to be in multiple sectors. And to win work with a company like Under Armour or Lululemon, these are companies you don't normally touch in sports, but they're interested in this type of technology and this type of innovation.
Fantastic.
I'll stop there. Yeah.
And then, so, sort of obviously, I know I can see from the process then that the date for the startups to be selected for the GVA 2.0 is still to be decided.
Yeah, we have all next week. So all next week, we're still reviewing applications. And then those Zoom calls, it varies per vertical. My Zoom calls start on the 22nd of February. Even if you can still join after that. The key milestone is pitch day. All those Zoom calls are recorded. You can watch them all. So if you're a lagger and you're a great startup, we can still get you in. The key milestone is for media and broadcast, March 8th and March 11th for clubs and federations. And that same startup, a lot of the ones that I know personally, they have a different product that they sell to the broadcaster than they sell to the team. It's a different tweak on it, but it's a different pitch. And when you're up on stage, you only have so many minutes. We allow you not to be on stage twice. Here's what my offer is to a broadcaster. Here's my offer to a club or to a league, so to say.
Yeah. And if you could sort of sum it up, from the 13 clubs that you had for the initial GVA, what kind of feedback did you get from them? Now they're sort of 12 months down the line, they've already got their partners in place. How did it turn out?
The feedback has been phenomenal. Feedback has been, exceeded our expectations. Majority of them got signed deals out of it. Majority of them got commercial deals out of it. Even those that didn't get commercial deals out of the actual program, they got commercial deals out of stuff that the mentorship did for them. So there's one of my colleagues, Simon from FanWide. He didn't win anything within those 13, but I put him in touch with a mentor down in Australia. And I don't know, I can't announce it yet, but I think it's signed. But I'll just say, with one of the largest stadiums in Australia. He's doing some work with cameras that are identifying fans with corona temperatures and just monitoring the fan base as they come in. Are they wearing a mask, not wearing a mask? And it's one of the largest stadiums in Australia. And he got that through the program, and it wasn't one of the 13. So that's the beauty of this. It's also the network and all the people that watch this. The moment you say Minnesota Vikings, Atlanta Hawks, PGA, Real Sociedad, you go all these other, it becomes big. And each one of the partners is advertising in their local language now. We didn't do this last year. So Legia in Poland is advertising for pitch day in Polish to all the Polish citizens. Caliente in Mexico is advertising in Mexican. The Atlanta Hawks put something out that went on NBA.com for this. We may have 10,000 people watch this show. I have no idea. But if you think of if each club just brings 100, that alone is significant. So it's going to be a real reality show of, each club, hey, watch who we're going to pick, watch the next innovation, watch selection show, and it'll be ongoing all the way up to demo day.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've got a very busy few months ahead of you there. If you have to do all these one-on-one meetings, and that's before
I'm in the midst of 70 one-on-one meetings over a course of 2 to 3 weeks, and trying to decide how I get from 70 down to 30. Not that there's a fixed amount of seats. I might take 35 or 40, but 70 will be too many. You can't have a pitch day of 70. It becomes 3 different pitch days. So we have to limit it, unfortunately. And part of that's in our just negotiations with the startups and it's a supply and demand. I expect to have so many. Now we're just overwhelmed with some amazing companies. And I would love to even say that it's not early stage. There's a lot of late stage companies coming in, and that's refreshing. And when they say, Ryan, I never would need an accelerator, or I did X accelerator 10 years ago, I don't need an accelerator now. But what you did was you disrupted the market and you created something unique. And I don't operate in Brazil, Uruguay, Mexico, Australia, India. And you can get me there pretty quickly. And, within one strike of a pen, and next thing I know, I'm up on stage talking to these partners all around the world.
So maybe next time we talk, Ryan, you'll be able to tell us, no doubt, I'm sure it'll be GVA 3.0 will be on the horizon.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but not just on the horizon, it might be on the telly.
Fantastic.
But we've been talking to a few people about it, and you can ultimately, they've asked us, and they even talked to some of the previous partners and startups, what if we had cameras going with you on that meeting, and could we be in the room when the Miami Dolphins are making a decision of who they're going to select? And, the feedback has been great. Dolphins even said, look, we might not have been able to do it. We might not be able to, but in theory it works. And, who knows? We're in discussions.
Fantastic. Well, we shall watch your progress with anticipation. It sounds fabulous. But for now, thanks so much for being with us today, and definitely keep us posted.
Yeah. So Katie, just to call out one more time, I'll see you at Pitch Day on March 11th. And then the selection show for my vertical, which I'm a little biased to, but to see those 32 partners select winners, that's going to be on March 18th. So stay tuned. You'll definitely see some press around it, but would love to see everyone out there at the Pitch Day as well as selection show. Thank you.
Perfect. Right. And we'll make sure, obviously, we'll put all the links to everything with this video for you.
Perfect. Thank you, Caitlin.
Perfect. Thanks, Ryan.